Just recently, I did a video on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, pointing out the lack of actual dissent in the media. I criticized Jon Stewart for allowing Donald Rumsfeld to come on his show and spout outright lies, blatant distortions, and not calling him out on it. Let's make the point that the so-called liberal bias is anything but. But with that having been done, just recently, Jon Stewart had Rand Paul on his show and let him do the exact same thing. On Monday, March 7th, Rand Paul was on the Comedy Central show, The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. He was there to promote his book, something about him and the teabag movement and whatever. If you'll recall, Rand Paul is the son of the libertarian Ron Paul. And you'll remember Ron Paul is a funder of the Mises Institute, the anti-corporate, corporate-backed candidate was allowed to say a lot of things that were blatantly untrue, and Jon Stewart, being the so-called liberal that he is, completely let him get away with it. One particularly striking moment was when Rand Paul came out and defended the coal industry. He said, yeah, coal pollutes, but people don't understand that we really need coal. Now, those aren't his exact words, but the way he said it, it sounded like he was defending the coal industry from unjust criticism. Like, people just don't understand that we need it. Somehow the tone of his voice and the way he was saying it was like the masses are these dumb animals that are just attacking the poor, defenseless coal industry for no reason, which was blatantly not true. I mean, it had this whole prejudiced, objectivist feel to it. I mean, he was outright attacking people for attacking the coal industry. I mean, he basically almost said, as Ayn Rand, the person he's totally not named after, said, the stupid, worthless mud that is the common person. He was allowed to say this horribly ridiculous statement. He said, well, coal power, it does pollute, but it's not the end of the world. We need coal power, and people need to understand that. Actually, it is the end of the world. Coal power is killing the planet. Global warming is real. And Jon Stewart, who also acknowledges that global warming is real, didn't call him on that. Even something as blatant as it's not the end of the world, when it literally will be. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I don't even really feel a need to be articulate about this one. It's blatantly obvious that Jon Stewart was supporting him from a so-called known liberal. This is how he conducts hard-hitting interviews. I mean, I know and calls himself a fake journalist, but I mean, there are limits here. Rand Paul even pandered to the people who think banks are socialist. And he goes in there and he says, well, you know, there shouldn't have been a bailout and the banks should have been let to fail. You know, we would have gone on. Well, actually, no. Because how completely detached him and the rest of the Mises people are from reality. Had those banks been allowed to fail, which I agree, they should have been allowed to fail, the entire capitalist system would have collapsed. It took literally $20 trillion out of the American taxpayer to save it. It's a ridiculous statement. If he loves capitalism so much, then why would he advocate something that would blatantly destroy it? Because right now, Rand Paul, you're starting to sound a hell of a lot more socialist than me. The whole ignorance of his statement made me laugh. Exactly how is capitalism supposed to continue if it collapses? All right, I forgot, that's not real capitalism. Real capitalism is the completely abstract, doesn't exist in real life version, not the how capitalism actually functions in real life version. Again, Dead silence from Jon Stewart. This is reaching a point where even the most ignorant of the system have to acknowledge it. It is blatantly obvious, even to the least initiated, that there is no public discourse. There is no real debate in the media. It is one view, with a slight seasoning on liberal to make it seem like there's this different bias. And when you ask people what's liberal bias, they'll scream at you that it's communism and it's Islamic fundamentalists taking over in America, and it's horribly ridiculous. To those of you who just don't get it, you gotta wake up. You don't really have a freedom of speech in America, nor any other Western civilization for that matter. You don't have real dissent within the media, and dissent's pretty important. Ideas aren't being discussed. They're being rammed down your throat. And a fake liberal position by people like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert just aren't real.